Good morning, my shiny, beautiful corn head. Well, I was just looking stuff over a little bit here. We did pretty good. There's a little spot on that didn't get painted very good, but no big deal. Everything seems to be dry. Looks good. I'm gonna get the combine and bring it in, pick the head up. We'll look underneath, see if we need to touch up a few spots, but then we'll start putting stuff back together. We're gonna go through a lot of never sees today. Yeah, so. Oh, before I do that, I wanna try and soak these chains down pretty good. See what I got, but we're gonna try and lube them up real good before we put them back on. Chain and cable lubricant. How convenient. Okay, let's get the combine. Burr! That cools it down in here. Get our heaters kicked into high gear. And makes it a little tighter. I have to move our parts tray back a little bit, but yeah. I wanted to lift it up so I can get to those in this little bit here. Other than that, I'm not too worried about it. But we'll paint them real quick, then I'll drop it back down so we can work on the top. Well, 5 minutes with a spray can, you get all these, and it makes a big difference. So, all right, now I'm gonna let it down to the point where I can actually work on it and get around it. So as we're putting it back together, we've got to set our deck plate gap. And so I need the deck plates to be all the way closed. So I'm working on that right now. I put one on that front, first row down there. I put the one deck plate in that moves. But if you watch right in front of me, you see those hooks kind of right there. See how they move? And it's sliding that deck plate down there. We need these to be in the all the way closed position, or what would be all the way closed. So that's what I am setting, just making sure that they're closed. And we can adjust them properly from there. Okay, so here's our deck plate that moves. You can see how it fits in these slots here. And they're all tied to this rod, and in the center, right there's a little hydraulic cylinder that pushes that rod, which makes them pivot on this, tips them. You understand the concept there. So we need to pull out our cardboard here, and then the other deck plate that goes on the other side is fixed. So we take it and put it on this side like that, and then I've got to get this gap to be the right width, and you want it just a little bit wider on one end than the other. I'll have to look and remember, is it wider in the back or wider in the front? I think it's wider in the back, actually. But I've got some spacer blocks to put in there to keep that gap in just the right spot, and then we tighten this one down. I am considering, because this one needs to move, I'm considering spraying some graphite on here. I think that would be a good idea. Some kind of lubrication. Kind of like that. So I put a little on the back side and a little on here. Just kind of where those are going to ride. That should make it slide and not attract dirt quite so easy. I may have to find a better way to do that. I had a little overspray. It's okay. Okay, so I got to find my blocks. Okay, I didn't find my blocks, but what I did find was an 18 millimeter nut, which is what you want in the front is 18 millimeter, and the back you want 20 millimeter. So that's what I've got. So that's the gap we want. That's just basically what we want the gap to be when it is fully closed. And then as you open it up, this one will move and make that gap a little bit bigger for different size corn stalks, basically. So, all right, next piece is gonna be guides. I think guides. Oh, yeah. We need to put our sprockets on the back there. We're gonna do that before we get too far here. Well, it turns out with this that we were out of this stuff, so I had to go buy some. But anyway, never cease. We need to coat these spindles. I guess you would call them spindles, shafts. That's what the sprockets sit on. These are all still in order, so this is the first one, this is the second one. And they just slide on. Correction, so these are where they came off of. However, in the interest of evening out wear, see how it's all the wear is on this side of the tooth? It's because this sprocket turns this way and that's where it's pulling from. If I put this one over here, it will turn the other way and will wear on the opposite side of that tooth. Instead of this side, it's going to wear on this side. So we're going to flip-flop each one of them on each row just to extend the wear life of them. So we did that, and then this washer spacer goes on top, and then this little clip fits in. There's a teeny tiny little groove on those corners. We got to get it in, so we'll get those. Okay, once we get those on, then we need our guides that will help bolt this down. And before we put the guide on this one, there's a spacer. They are right here, so it'll be this one that goes in there, and what that does is keep, when we tighten it down, from pinching this so that it will still slide. Okay, we've got those on. I also noticed, or just remembered, we've got that piece there that we've got to put back on here, and we need to do that before we put the chains on, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So we'll grab this one. I wonder, do I need to clean these up? They're not terrible. That kind of covers up this gap, obviously, but it also holds down the tin on the bottom of the auger trough there to keep it from popping up and stuff sliding over it instead of catching. So, all right, now we need to put together our idler sprockets that go down in here. So we need one of these. We need this. We need one of our bolts down here. And the rest of the pieces are on the bench. So our bolt goes in. There's our graphite coated on the bottom. Put our spacer on. And then we've got the same thing with these sprockets here, where it's wearing on one side of the tooth. So we're going to flip-flop which one was which. And this is why it's important to keep all this stuff in order and not just throw it into a pile, because it's a lot easier to even out wear and switch things when you know where it came off of to start with. So, and that is how that goes. And because John Deere in their infinite wisdom wants to make things difficult on you, instead of like every other nut and bolt on the entire machine, combine and corn head, is an 18 millimeter, this one's a 19 millimeter, just to be difficult. Okay, so we'll kind of loosely set that in place. Now we need our piece that fits in here, which would be that one right here, and one of those plastic guides that's on the bench. This one, and you'll notice there's a difference between these 8 and these 8. Those are depending on which side they're on, and it's these tabs right here. Again, those tabs are a spacer. They fit down somehow, yeah, around. They fit down around into that slot, which allows that deck plate to still move. The other side doesn't have those, and it clamps it down tight. So, yeah. Okay, so that plastic piece fits onto that, and then it goes around the sprocket arm, fits down into that gap. So then when we bolt all this together, this will bolt tight here. And then see how easy, nice, that's smooth, and it slides like it's supposed to. Remember how that didn't move at all when we took this apart? Yeah, that's why we did this. So we need the bolts that go in here, which are these ones. Okay, all of this stuff is also getting a coat of Never Sees, just FYI, all the bolts. These ones can be tightened down on this side because, yeah, so we can tighten that down. We got to do it before we put the chain on. Okay, so I got this side, everything's back on, it's tight except for obviously the chain and the tensioner there. Now we're going to do the same, get to the same point on the other side so that we can get our deck plate set while we can still get in there before the chains are in the way. So I need this piece, and I need the plastic piece that goes on it. It's going to sit right there, and we need the bolts. All right, so everything is kind of hand tight on this side, and what we should be able to do yet is still move this deck plate. This one here doesn't move because it moves hydraulically. So we want to get this one with our 18 millimeter nut in the front here, and I've got my 20 millimeter spacer in the back. Basically, we need to get those pushed together so that they're as tight as we can get them with the spacers in there, which, by the way, is much easier to do with two hands than it is with one. Okay, but that's where we want them. And now we can tighten these down. Where's my... Okay. I'll do them a little bit more, but now I can get my spacers out of there. You guys, you forgot to tell me. We forgot something. Hold on. Okay, that's better. We got to do that one again. All right, so now we've got our gap set correctly. We've got our chain guides on. I might have to pivot that one a little bit. And I believe I'm ready for chains. And we're going to do the same thing with the chains that we've done with the sprockets. So this one was on the outside. We're going to flip it and put this one on because it helps wear the opposite sides. So that, yeah, it's better for wear. All right, these chains are a little tricky. You see on these guides, there's these little notches right here. Well, those are a guide of where you want your lugs to be. And they're staggered a little bit. So I've lined up them all right there. But here's the other thing, right? So these lugs are not equally spaced, which is just drives me crazy. But if you count here, we've got 1, 2, 3, and kind of a half, or call it the fourth one, where the lug is. But if you look on this side, 1, 2 and a half, or the third one. So they're not even. So you got to get the right ones to line up. And yeah. Anyway, that's how that one goes. Now I'll do the next one. All right. Well, this one they don't quite match up. It's because of the way the sprocket is, but they're close. If I went one more, they would be really close together. This way, they're a little bit more staggered, so I'm going to leave them like that. Okay. Now we're ready for tension. So the first thing we're going to do is take our square nut and we're going to drop it down into there, and then we've got to put together our spring and bolt. So somebody on today's video commented that they would have painted the springs with the graphite too, and I hadn't thought about it, but that's a pretty good idea, so I'm going to do that quick. So thanks for that tip. There, so we put together our bolt, we put a washer on the end of it, we put our spring on there, and then we take and slide that inside the spacer. Okay, so we're going to set that in here, and then we've got to get one of these nuts, and now I've got to get this started in there, which definitely going to require two hands. Okay, so now that's started. So now I need to spin this bolt and hold the nut, and the bolt will thread through there. It'll go through this hole, and eventually it will thread into this nut that we slid down in there. Once I get it started, threaded into there, I can kind of let this one go, and we tighten this up until there is, like, I think it's 1/8 of an inch gap. I'm going to double check, but it's basically you want about a spring or a spring and a half showing. So we need to go a little bit more on this one. Let's see here. Somewhere in there, that might be a little bit tight. Let me check. 3/16. The book said 3/16. I'm not going to get the calipers on all of them, but that's 3/16. It's about a spring and a half, like I said. So we're just going to go about that gap on all of them. Once we get that gap set, we can take this nut and tighten it against that chain guide there. And what that will do is kind of lock it in place so that it doesn't come loose, nothing turns. There. And so now, as this chain wears, this spring will push that bolt out, which keeps tension on this, pushing it forward, and it'll keep the chain tight. And if something happens where it catches, it's got some give to it, where it takes up some of that slop or space there. So that's a properly adjusted gathering row chain. We'll do this one now, and then we do this 7 more times. All right, there. Now you probably know more about putting cornhead gathering chains together than you ever imagined you cared about. There's row 2. I think I should make Brock watch the video that I just filmed so that he knows how to do this. I don't have to teach him, but no, that's all right. I think this one's good. Okay, next. Look at it. It's all coming together. Going fast here. Check it out. It's all back together already. That went pretty quick. What time is it? Oh, it's 12:30. I guess it's time for me to go to lunch, but we did pretty good here. It's a lot faster with 2 people. Well, look at that. Just got back from lunch. Brock got stuff cleaned up a little bit, piled up our cardboard. We got all of these pieces put back on, although they're loose because those are what hold the snouts on, and they need to be able to wiggle a little bit to make sure we get them in the right spot. So I think we're about ready to put shields and all that stuff back on and be done with this. He just went to lunch, or he's still gone, so I'll wait till he comes back. He can help me move them snouts around because they're pretty heavy. But we could get these end pieces here on, and there's a couple smaller pieces, a cover that goes on down here. So yeah, cool. All right, we were missing a few of the snap rings and the washers that are supposed to be on there. Kind of like that one. I had a couple, but not enough, so I'm gonna have to get some more of those. But it'll work. We'll just put them on later. I put this chain back on for the auger and tightened that up good. There's a tensioner right there. So we need the side shield, Brock, and we can grease the slip clutch for the auger and put the cover that goes back on here. Okay, there's that guard and the ones on the inside of the auger chain cover. Now we're going to put these end shields on. Okay, now we've already checked the oil in these gearboxes. We do need to check it in this gear case here yet, but we got to do that with it sitting on the ground. We also, underneath, there are some grease zerks on the slip clutches for each row. These right here, I want to hit those, but we're going to lift the head up all the way so we can put our safety stop down to go ahead and get those. 3 pumps, that's it. They're slip clutches, so we don't need much grease in them. Otherwise, all they do is slip, and we don't want that. Okay, it's greased, almost. There is a grease zerk in there. We got it. They do not, however, put one on these U-joints on the end. You would think they would, but I looked. There's not one there, and there's not one there. So now it's greased. What else? I think that's it with it up. and we can put it down and put the snouts back on. And then we'd be done with the corn head. Oh, we need to paint. We gotta paint that shield. That one right there. Check this real quick. If oil comes out, we're good. If it doesn't, we gotta take this cover off and add a little bit. Oil's coming out. Put the plug back in. We're good. Okay. I think we're ready for snouts. And we already cleaned them, so all we gotta do is throw them on, and then we're done. Okay, there. Got a little water out of some of the snouts. Whoops. Oh well. You know what I should do? I should have Brock over here with a heat gun melting this plastic so it's nice and shiny. No? Ah, come on. Nope, that's good. Couple of last little things. I'm gonna paint the points to make them look good. And I was thinking about, I'll have to back up with this, but these are the feelers that kind of run on the ground to give the height information back to the combine, and they get pretty flat spotted and worn here. So sometimes we put some hard surface weld on the bottom there. So I might do that, although that one's all wet now, but that's all right. And it looks like we got to get that spring back in there. One of them's good, the other one came loose. Just needs pried around into the little hole on the arm there. So might do that. Actually, might just take the whole arm off to weld it. That would be easier. All right, we decided to take these arms off because, well, we couldn't get the spring back in on that one anyway without doing it. So while I got them off, I'm gonna throw a little hard surface on it. I've got some hard surface welding rods that are probably in the ballpark of 25 to 30 years old, but we're gonna make them work. And we'll see how I do here. Well, that's better. I put 2 layers on there. Brock took one look at my weld and said, "Blah, that was terrible." So he's gonna do the next one. We're gonna make fun of him instead. We won't make fun of him too much. He's actually doing a pretty good job there. What do we think? Better than mine or not?
I think so.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's okay, but it isn't anything
What do you guys
special.
think?
And because it's like everything else, they get a fresh coat of paint. This one's got to be yours. That one looks terrible.
Oh, that's yours. This one's mine.
Ah.
You heard it, guys. He called his terrible.
This one looks really good, though. Okay, well, I guess that's gonna pretty well do it for the corn head. We've just got to put those arms back in, but they're gonna take a little while to dry, so I'll probably wait till the morning to do that. And then that's it. We'll put it on the trailer. We'll take it to our farm in Berkey, put it in the barn, and store it until next fall. So cool. 3 days in and out. That's awesome. That's really good. It looks good. So we'll get this out of here tomorrow. I've got a meeting tomorrow morning, seed business stuff. So we'll work on it some more in the afternoon, and we'll get it out of here. And then we need to get the combine washed, get the foam cannon out, scrub it down, wax it, whatever we're going to do there. Hopefully by the end of the week. And then next week we'll work on getting all the guts put back inside of it, the belts and chains put back on, all the shields and stuff. And by the end of next week, easily, maybe by Tuesday or Wednesday next week, we should get this combine out of here, which is awesome. We're way ahead of schedule. I have got some computer work that I need to do for the rest of the day, so I'm gonna go work on that. Accounting. Record. It sucks. Okay, well, I got some computer work done, but it's almost 5 o'clock. I've got to get home early tonight. My wife had some stuff going on, so I've got to go get the boys, and we've got church tonight. So, I'm gonna take them and go to that. God, it's so pretty. Doesn't it look great? It's awesome. I'm thrilled with this. Look at it. Thumbnail. Yeah, there you go. All right, have a great night, everybody. Check back tomorrow. We'll make a video here of doing something, getting this out of here, and keep working on the combine. Yeah, moving along. Anyway, questions, comments, like, subscribe. See you tomorrow.